So our didactic is going to focus on coaching for impact, and it is our Basque team member, Crystal Ceresani. She's program manager for curriculum development and school climate programming, and she is a great one to give this didactic because she has lots of coaching experience. So I'll turn it over to Crystal.
Yes. Hi, everybody. It's so good to be here today. Just to kind of give you the goals and objectives of this time together, it's going to be really just taking everything we've done and talked about so far and putting it together for you to see a scenario of what the process can look like. And I'm going to take you through the lens of I am a team planning a PL session and how I would work through all of that. So it's really kind of letting you see a coaching scenario, seeing the coaching functions that we talk about and what it looks like to kind of plan around those, and then using some of the resources from Basque to support that plan. All right. So first, I want to start with kind of just thinking about coaching as the bridge. One of the things that we're eager to do is to get our mindsets to shift from professional learning just being the training to seeing professional learning as including the coaching component. Like, if you hear professional learning, we want you to automatically think coaching with that professional learning. So knowing that the training is where they build the knowledge, right? Professional learning builds knowledge, but coaching is where you're going to build that consistency. You're going to build the confidence of your people in what you're training on, and it's going to support and build that implementation. It's not going to truly happen without having that coaching component, especially in a way that you see it and you know. So here it should pop up. Um, is a Slido that you can join. This is going to be a word cloud, but it's not showing. It might just be we have to do it in the chat, Sarah, if it doesn't work with that. So what this is supposed to do is supposed to populate a word cloud onto the screen. Um, but I want you in the chat, we'll improvise real quick. Tell me what word or phrase comes to mind when you think of coaching. What is something that really just comes to your mind when you hear the word coaching? Support, collaboration, support, goals and feedback. Yes, ongoing, very good. Collaborative, encourage. I love that. Support, leading, guidance. Do you see how all of these are just taking you beyond? We talk about that train and hope model and how that doesn't work if you just do the training. These things are all needed. All the words you're saying, support, guide, trust, consistent, ongoing, the relationships, those are all going to be what we need for things to actually happen, right? Following that PL, I might have the best ideas in the whole world, but if I'm not supported and have somebody kind of helping guide me through that in a coaching way, it's going to make it hard and it's going to make it hard to implement. I might not have the confidence. Once I get back, I might not know what this can really look like with my students, or I might not know where to begin with that. I love nurturing as well. That I need that nurturing when I'm inserting something new into my classroom. Mentorship, very good. All right, Sarah, you can go on to the next slide. So I want you to think about the training and coaching and all the words you just said. Think about all the words you just listed when you look at this. Training and coaching equal implementation. Implementation with support, which is still a model of that coaching, equals sustainability. And y'all, when we finally achieve that sustainability with the implementation being done with fidelity, that's when we're going to see those student outcomes. We really talk about this work coming together. Our end goal, the reason we're here is we want student outcomes. But if we're not implementing and supporting what we're implementing, we're not going to see that in the same way. So, why coaching cycles? The value of that is really thinking about and look at some of these words are the words you're using. You're fostering that reflection, that growth, and that shared practice. You're coming together for that targeted feedback and that collaborative problem solving. Do y'all see how all the words you listed are a core part of these coaching cycles? That's where the power comes in supporting this work. And then really thinking about the structure. It's going to include that planning, really kind of sitting down as a team, and that's what we're going to talk about a lot today is sitting down as a team and planning and intentionally looking at what this can look like in your school. Having that observation and support, giving that real-time coaching and feedback, and then having that reflection component, looking at we've collected this data, now what does it show us and it say about the direction we're heading? So we look at our coaching functions, this circle that you've seen a lot, the cycle, as our coaching cycles, right? It's going to promote that consistency. It's meaningful just in time, like it's ongoing. And that's why you see the circle here in the puzzle. They all link together. A lot of times these kind of go hand in hand. When you're assessing knowledge and implementation, oftentimes you're automatically promoting that goal setting, right? They work together in a cycle. You're coming back to the table, you're circling back through them. And one thing I love about this coaching function cycle is it's very universal. You could use this for anything. If you've got a new literacy initiative, you could follow this exact same model to support that implementation and that training and coaching as well. All right. So there's going to be two core tools that I'm going to talk you through today. So as a team, when I'm sitting down with a group of people at the table and I'm starting to think, we've done this practice, we've done the SAS, we know what our priority practice is we want to focus on. These are going to be the two tools that you want to have at the table as you do this process. One of them is going to be that day two workbook, and you'll see there the file path for how you can access these in your folders. And then the feedback and acknowledgments guiding coaching guide. So these two are going to work hand in hand. As we look today, the one on the left, the workbook, will be really what helps you work through your coaching plan. And then the coaching guides are going to be where you look at tools that might support what you're wanting to do. So here's where I'm going to walk you through kind of what I, as a team, would sit down and do. I'd sit down with both of those tools. You see here, you've got the coaching functions. The picture in the middle you see is the guiding documents that you have in that workbook. You worked with us together in our time together on day two, but coming back as a team and really being intentional and working through this and having that coaching guide on the right, that's the table of contents of what I would be working with as I look through it. So now I'm going to kind of walk you through what I would do like as a team when looking at this. So step one is really deciding, and you've already done a lot of this. This is just kind of pulling it full circle for you. So when you were with us that day, you looked at your SAS data and you established what your priority would be. So here, that's where I would come to the table and say, okay, based on SAS, this is our cohort data. Based on SAS as a cohort, I think our focus would be on feedback and acknowledgments. We have, a 72% in place. That's below that 80% goal mark that we had talked about. And so this would be the priority area we'd focus on. So that would be my assess knowledge and implementation is reviewing that data and deciding what we're practicing on and where we are as a baseline. From there, you move into thinking about your goal. So for me with a team, we'd sit down and we're going to say, okay, we're going to do professional learning and coaching for 8 weeks, just as a pulse check. That does not mean it's concrete, right? When you revisit your cycle, it might be in 8 weeks, you're like, whoa, we need more time. Or it might be where you check the midweek mark and you're like, oh, we're doing great. But it's just a starting place, really thinking realistically about what could be a timeline to start with. So here we're going to say within 8 weeks, our instructional staff will begin using that behavior specific praise that names the behavior and aligns with the school-wide norms and behavior skills with at least 80% demonstrating practice during observations. So that's going to be kind of our goal. From there, you can go ahead. I will then sit down and start thinking as a team. This is where you work through that coaching function 3 where you're going to really look at that professional learning and coaching. What is it? Who is going to lead the training? Are they going to use the asynchronous models? So for me, sitting down with the team, I would have the staff complete those asynchronous modules. We've got it ready. It's easy enough, but I wouldn't let it stop there. I would then pull together, let's talk about some PLCs. In our PLCs, we would talk about the module. What were some things that stood out to you about the strategy? What are we already doing well? Thinking about your own implementation of the strategy. Did you feel validated in some of it? Really talking and engaging them about that strategy. What about it was something you realize you might want to work on? And then together in that time, when I'm with them, we'd go ahead and work through the goal setting document together, which this document you see is in that coaching guide for feedback and acknowledgments. So as a team, however you have your PLC set up, I would together as a team, we did the module, we feel good. Now let's set some goals on how we're going to use this And in that time, work together through that plan. Then in that same meeting, I would go back for a second. Yep. And in that same meeting, I would spend time talking about the implementation, what we want to see. So as an MTSS-B Tier 1 team, we're going to be doing observations, right? Here's going to be the timeline of what you'll see us coming in during this time. These are going to be the tools you need to track your own progress. And those are all tools that you can find in that coaching guide. There's a reflection tool in the coaching guide. There's a where they can track their own implementation of the strategy in there, and then let them know in that same PLC what the accountability plan is going to be on their part. All right, then you can go ahead. So then thinking about that data collection plan, and you see here another part of this is only a portion of that professional learning and coaching Coach and Function 3 document. There's only one of the boxes. There's a lot more to plan through. But this is where we start talking about what is our data going to look like for this. And you want to communicate that as well. So for me, in the beginning, as I'm starting this process, especially so for me, I'm going to say this is my first time doing one of these practices with the school. In the beginning, I'm going to kind of keep it simple and keep it as a team doing those observations and have them do reflection logs on that document. Here's an example of you have two different documents in that coaching guide here. One of them is the feedback and acknowledgement observation tool. And this is where me as a team, as our tier one team, we could go in and do observations using this tool to come back to the table with. And then on the right, you see an implementation reflection. That's what the staff could be doing on their own implementation of it, knowing how it's going and having those conversations with them around their own implementation. You can also keep it very simple and creating a simple, just where they log at the end of a week, a quick reflection on how it went that week. It doesn't have to be this tool. These are options and ideas, but you can absolutely get creative or make it even more simple than this if you want a very simple reflection log. Just know there's options there. But so for the first round with the first practice, I would keep it simple to my tier one team doing observations and then have them do a reflection. Moving forward, after the staff gets more familiar with the process, I'd love to, you can go to the next slide. Um, Start getting creative about other coaching supports as well. Maybe get other people involved. Start doing some peer observations where they go and give each other feedback as well. Maybe once they start getting familiar with some of the tools in that coaching guide that you're using with them, they can then go start observing each other and providing feedback. I'm a big believer in those self reflections, self video reflections, of letting them record their own lesson and do their own observation sheet from that coaching guide on their own implementation of the strategy. I think coming back to together, having those PLC data discussions, sharing, making sure we always say that when you collect data, you want to share it back. Based on observations, here's what we've seen. Have a plan for that. Um, I've had to lead professional learning before where I utilized a Google Classroom system for the reflection logs and for them to upload or for us to share out video examples. So it could be that simple as well as checking in a Google Classroom setting. You post a how's it going, people comment. I just want you to know that there's creativity in it. I don't want you to get stressed about coaching as like a person. It's a strategy, not the job title. I think that's a big mindset shift because we don't always have the capacity to go hard. So there's ways to get creative if you as a team don't have the capacity right now to do that. And even if you do in the beginning, kind of keep it as a team in the beginning to kind of build systems, you can then start looking at other creative coaching ideas as well. And so there's some ideas here that you can, and this is also in that coaching guide. All these ideas are in that coaching guide as well. So then thinking about again the coaching cycle as a cycle, really thinking about what are the ongoing, when you as a team come back to the table, what does this look like ongoing? And so what I've done here is I've kind of broken down what's ongoing in each step of the cycle, right? You're going to come back, you're going to pull in the observation and progress monitoring data, and you're going to discuss how was it? How did it go? How do we feel about it? Which then leads yourself directly into, and that's what I love about this process, is they all kind of lead to each other, right? So then that's going to lead into really talking about your goal. And I would do like a midpoint, like check at the 4 week mark. How's it going? Are we already seeing it fully mastered? Are we ready to move on? Or is the 8 weeks seeming like it might not be realistic of a timeline? Do we need to expand it? or like just kind of having specific conversations around that goal. How's it going? Determine if it's time. Are we ready to introduce a new practice? Or do we need to make some adjustments to the goal? Do we need to come up with some new prompts for implementation? Really just talking about where you are. And then after discussing the progress, really plan the details. What's next? If we're ready to move on, let's start working through this cycle again, but make sure you're communicating that as well, right? Communicate that data and the progress that they've made towards the goal. Celebrate the wins, all of it, even if it's not at your goal yet, but what are we seeing that we're celebrating? Making sure that we're building that buy-in around what we're seeing, but also driving home, but there's also room for growth here, and then revisiting those strategies for that prompting implementation if it wasn't working, or if it is. If it's working, then moving forward, hey, that strategy really worked. We need to make sure we do this every single time. Or, oh, they weren't really, I don't think there was a lot of success there. What can we revisit? And getting feedback. I think all of these lend themselves to getting feedback and hearing what the staff says works with that PL process as well, especially as you as a team are growing and evolving in this work. It's always good to get feedback on, hey, we did our first practice. How do y'all feel about that PL and support process? Did you feel supported? Do y'all, as a staff, what more could you need for us to feel more supported? So knowing that you can always, through all of these, get their feedback as well as you come together as a team. And then when you're ready to add a new practice, I think there's a lot of conversation you can have around this. I think there are things that one, you'll start seeing around your school, right? You're going to start hearing conversations around the practice. Maybe students, you start seeing students noticing that positive feedback, or even students starting to give each other more positive feedback. There are things culturally around the school that are going to let you know that that practice is in place. You're starting to see that 5-to-1 ratio. But then there's also the data-driven decisions where you're looking at, hey, when we sat down and looked, 80% of our observations are showing this as mastered, or even more. Or and if it's 80%, but you want more than that, it doesn't mean that when you hit 80%, you stop there. That's where I want you always, when you're sitting down and looking at this, to know it's very contextual to you. It might be where you're like, you know what, we want 100%. We're starting with a goal of 80%, but we want it to be where this is such a powerful strategy. We want to see it even more. That's where you as a team come together and have those conversations. And then hopefully, if you're seeing the fidelity of the implementation, you're going to also see the data showing the decrease in ODRs, or you're going to start seeing the student outcomes showing that success. So that's when you can know that it's, like, okay, this is working and we're moving on, or you want to keep going with it. And that's the beauty of this process. There is no right or wrong. It's if you're just moving forward with it in some capacity. And then I really want to drive home things to remember here. And the biggest one I'm going to remind you of is the KISS method. I had a principal who would keep it simple, sweetie. That was her method. We know there's another way, but we go with sweetie around here. So keep it simple, sweetie. And I know I'm the queen of overthinking. You can ask probably anyone on the team. I'm the queen of overthinking. You cannot let yourself overthink or overplan. You just have to start. Sit down, keep it simple in the beginning, especially as you as a team are finding yourself and finding your way. Keep it simple and just start. There is no like, oh, we didn't do this right. There is no wrong. It's just getting better. That's all we can do. Consider your context and get creative. None of this is meant to be in a box that you have to fit in. Anything we design as Basque, we try to do it in a way that we want you to take it and make it your own. Take the tools in that coaching guide and get creative. It might be where only 3 of those questions right now you feel like you're ready for as a school. That's okay. Contextualize and get creative. Do not make the data collection feel like it's some daunting task. Keep it simple as well. And then remembering, don't let the idea of the coaching intimidate you. It's more the strategies, it's more the check-in. All of the words y'all listed earlier are coaching words. That's what goes with this. Don't let yourself get in your head of imposter syndrome is real when it comes to this work, right? Don't let yourself get there. Keep it simple. Know that if I'm there supporting them, that's what they need from me. And then just a little simple reminder that as you do move practices, kind of remember to kind of spiral in maybe some observations or conversations about previous ones so you don't lose sight of those as well. And then I want y'all to just kind of tell me, thinking about today, I hope you all feel a little more like at peace with the idea of this work and moving forward. And I want to hear what are some of your ideas? What's going to be the first thing you do after today when you start thinking about the coaching plan for your practice? What are you thinking? And keep this simple too. It could even be having a conversation. Might even be going back to the SAS data to decide where to start. Yep, there we go. Being intentional about tracking the coaching work and staying organized. Yes, schedule time to observe. Setting a strong goal for next year so we can see a behavior focus that we can see results from. I love that. And that's one thing definitely looking forward to next year. It might even be where right now we know we're entering testing season. It might be coming together as a team to think about next year. Yes. Taryn, all of those things above. Yes. There you go. Appreciate your suggestions. Start. Don't get caught up on the perfection. Yes, that's me. I'm the worst about it needs to be perfect. I have a sticker, a little sticky note that I wrote myself that says pick the zebra and move on because I will literally spend so much time trying to find the perfect something, whether it's an example, even a clip art image. I want to find the perfect one. I can't do it. Just find it and move on. Love that. All right. Sarah, you can so I didn't want to give you this in the beginning because I wanted you to hear me talk through it. But what I've done here is put together an example completed coaching guide for you as a team as you're starting to kind of come together. You can use this as an example. It's a simple, I try to keep it simple even in my own. And know that there are some things that you're going to revisit later as a team. There's some boxes you're not ready to fill out right now, and that's okay. And I even try to do some examples of those. You can even see here outcome goal. We'll revisit later when we're ready. That's okay. Just starting, sitting down, having the conversation. Mr. Chandler says, my first step is to support their school-based teams and their development. Review the coaching plans before and encourage them. Yes, by making suggestions. That's very good. And that's one thing, the DBCs, you can coach your teams in coaching this work as well. It's a beautiful little trickle-down effect, right? Um, but yeah, here's an example for you that you can have to review later when you're sitting down and wanting to see an example. I know a lot of times we like to see it right in front of us. So this is an example for you. All right. Does anyone have any questions for me? I feel like I booked it through that, but I think it's good to see it in action.
Thank you, Crystal. If you have any questions for Crystal, you can drop them in the chat, or you can send us an email and we'll get those answered. And we'll transition over to our school showcase. So this is where we're